Greetings, brothers and sisters. So, I got a bunch of stuff on Jimmy Kimmels and Arnold Schwarzenegger to do with Caitlyn for governor because, we got to make that happen. Caitlyn Jenner as governor of California has to happen. Like, if it doesn't happen, I don't know. It's going to be a tragedy for all of us. California deserves Caitlyn for governor. Like, let's just, put it out there. California, all the wonderful things they've done for the rest of us. I've talked about this in another video. They deserve to have Caitlyn Jenner as their governor. But first, JoJo, Biden goes big, free pre-K and community college, make the rich pay for it. And so he's about to roll out this plan, which is going to cost, I don't know, a couple $100 billion to get all these people through community college and kindergarten. And so here it is. President Joe Biden will propose $1.8 trillion over the next decade to make massive investments in the nation's education system and expand and protect tax credits aimed at the middle class. Administration officials said Tuesday night, adding that he would pay for the ambitious agenda with a number of tax hikes aimed at the wealthiest Americans. It's not the wealthiest Americans. It is the Americans who are in the, upper end of the middle class. These are people who are, millionaires. I mean, they're barely millionaires. And many of those people have small businesses. They have, interests in the community that they're no longer going to pursue. Because education, we don't have an education problem right now. Like, he ran on education, and education was part of his thing, so he had to do something. But education isn't what our issue is. Education isn't going to fix anything right now. Education fixes things in, a number of years, right? Like, it takes at least 4 years for people to get out of community college. It isn't that we don't have a educated workforce. We do. These kids are in pre-kindergarten. They're years from, and that doesn't affect, like, they think getting kids out of the house earlier, right? Getting them away from your parents earlier. I mean, it's like a daycare option for parents, but it's not helpful in terms of the kids. Kids have to spend time with their parents and their moms. There's a great quote from Master Chargy. This is a quote from Master Chargy that he answered in a letter to a woman, a new mother. It's nice to have free time with little babies. Must have all their time with their mother. And even when they are 6 or 7 years old, should not be separated for long. That is what we feel here in India, and I think it makes them feel less lonely and frightened when you grow up. Love is such a wonderful thing, and if one is loved right from the cradle, such a person can be anything in life. The more and more I see the power of love, the more I wonder at it. People laugh at love, but it is the most potent force in the world, like a small jet of water constantly falling on the hardest rock, can wear it away. So love, patient, faithful love, can overcome any resistance and overpower any other power in the world without corrupting and demeaning that which it conquers. And so there's this idea, that a kid needs time with their mom. The mom is the love giver, right? There's a bond. There's a natural bond between mother and child. You see this in the animal community as well, right? Where there is this, loving bond that starts with the baby in utero, and then it continues through the nursing process. And, there's all this information out there. This guy, Joseph Chilton Pierce, he was a medical doctor that he did all this stuff on heart research and the child needing to be near the mother's heart and all these things, right? I mean, there's substantial information about this out there. And so this idea of getting kids out of the house sooner, away from their parents and into the beastly education system, it's already a bad idea. And also this idea that somehow education's going to turn this country around when, it takes years for education to, yield results, and it's not going to help the economy. It's not like we have a education deficit right now. For years, I believed, I didn't understand our economic system. I believe taxing the rich, right? When people say, all right, let's tax the rich, you're like, oh yeah, tax them MFers, right? Like you feel like, and you think they're going to tax, really wealthy people, but they have instruments, they have financial instruments to hide their wealth and income and avoid taxation. The people with a lot of money can do that. So what it is the upper middle class. And people think, oh, those people are, they should be taxed more. But do you think it's fair to tax people 40% of their income or 50% of their income or 60-something% of their income in state taxes? Remember when 50 Cent, right, when he realized that he was going to be taxed like 67% in New York and California, and he was like, I'm voting for Trump, right? and it set off a firestorm. And so when you tax people who have money to invest, you de-incentivize them from investing in the economy because they figure that they're going to keep below the tax rate. And so it kills the economy in so many different ways. And the money that you get from them isn't enough. Like I've talked about this recently. So here's the $28 billion. This is the national debt. This is the tax revenue. And this is, this is the end at the end of the tax year. So this is what it is. It's $3,800,000,000,000. $3,400,000,000,000, right? And so it's $3.5 trillion. And that no way is going to pay for this because right here, the Medicaid is $1 trillion, the Social Security is $1 trillion, and the defense war budget is $700 billion, but it's going to be $1.6 trillion by the end of the year. So these things right here account for that, right? And that's not to say all the other federal programs, all the other stuff that we're doing, right? It's just there's not enough money. So that means that we're going to have to borrow more money here, right? And this is, going to add to the national debt. But this is the total U.S. debt, which is $86 trillion. So if you tax rich people and you get another $1 trillion in taxes, which you won't, like because there isn't that much, available money out there to tax, it's still not going to do anything to these things, the national debt or the collective debt. So this is the total personal debt. Everyone's collectively we're $21 trillion in personal debt. But here's the big one down here. Unfunded liabilities. So these are things the government is on the hook to pay for, with Social Security and Medicare being the big ones, right, at $21 and $32 trillion. And this is $162 trillion of promises. Like this is, future debt, things that aren't a part of the budget, And so there's no money left. And this is of course the derivatives market, which is $620 trillion. And so I've covered this over and over again. If you add that together, it's going to be around a quadrillion dollars of debt, right? So that's, maybe $900 trillion. And so taxing some people who might invest their money and de-incentivizing them for making more money is just going to kill the economy. And it's not going to account for any of these things. There's no way to get out of this debt, right? And no politician wants to talk about this. I mean, they would be, slammed because it would, if people knew about this, it would freak them out, right? If the average person realized how much debt the government is and all of us are collectively, it would, kill the economy. So that's why no politician really brings this up in any real way. They don't tell you what I just showed you. It's all right here. I mean, there's just like, look, this all the red stuff is debt, right? And then, and the black stuff is, kind of like debt because they're just printing money. And the more money they print, the more that the dollar's value is going to be devalued. And so what Joe Biden is proposing is going to kill the economy more than it's already dying. Because what he's going to do is de-incentivize people from making money. People aren't going to want to make more money because they realize they're going to pay most of it in taxes. And so they're going to have to find another way. They're going to either wait it out or whatever. But, they're not going to take risky investments, or they're not going to take on any risk knowing that even if they make the money, there isn't going to be the reward. Because if they only get 30% of what they're, 30 or 40% of what they're going to make, then it's just, it's not even worth it. I mean, think about your paycheck if you had to pay 60% of what you made in taxes. I mean, you'd be like, well, it'd probably be better just to go on unemployment and, get on Medicaid and do all these other things. It'd be easier to be poor, you probably have more available spending money, and you have all this free time. And so, this thing that he's proposing is going to be an economy killer when you already have a dead economy. It's like, his proposals are kicking a dead horse. So Jimmy Kimmel had former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger on, right? On Monday.
Our first guest tonight is our former governor and Terminator, who's done it all and then some. His new project is his first ever animated children's show, Stan Lee's Superhero Kindergarten. It is available on Cartoon Channel now. Please welcome Arnold Schwarzenegger. Hello, Governor. How are
Woo!
you?
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm doing great.
Governor,
I tell you one thing that I was asked several times that did I watch the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I told people, I said I watched maybe 1/3 of it. So I didn't even know. I cannot even tell you if I won. Did I win yet?
No, you didn't win, Arnold. You were a horrible actor. If he can do it, if he can be governor, Caitlyn, Caitlyn's got to be next.
Yesterday?
you did win. You won Best Supporting Actress, weirdly. You won for...
Why is that weird, Jimmy? I think Jimmy's misgendering him, or what is he doing here? Like, that's just not an appropriate joke, Jimmy. I think we got to look into Jimmy for cancel culture here.
Very nice, very nice. But I tell you, the reason why I only watched 1/3 was because it was so boring. I'm telling you that without you hosting it, you really brought it.
Yeah, when he hosted, that was epic. That was wonderful. And Jimmy Kimmel, he just brought life to the Oscars. Oscars always sucked, right? Now it just sucks more, and people are less interested in Hollywood congratulating itself. Why the world is burning, Why we're in the apocalypse.
In your personal life, Caitlyn Jenner is running for governor of California. They announced today that there will be a recall election, and Caitlyn Jenner wants to run, and no doubt inspired by the fact that you ran for governor during a recall.
Boom, yeah. Like, Arnold should be the inspiration for all future governors of California. He was a steroid-using bodybuilder who wasn't born in America and really never got a clear grasp on the English language, but that didn't stop him from being the #1 movie star and then the governor of California. And if Arnold can do it, Caitlyn certainly can do it. And that's the kind of governor California needs, especially right now after all that they've blessed the rest of us with.
Recall election, and you won. Do you think Caitlyn Jenner has any chance of winning this election?
Well, anyone has a chance because I think that the people at this.
Wrong answer, Arnold. The answer is yes. Caitlyn is going to be future governor of California, Arnold. Don't sell Caitlyn short. Look at the skull back here. Look at Arnold. He's got some elephant tusks and a skull. I wonder if those are real ivory. That's some BS there, Arnold. And I don't know what else. He's got some tchotchkes. Arnold's got a lot of crappy stuff. He's got a picture of himself when he was young and muscular. Arnold getting it done.
Satisfied with what's going on here in California, and I hope that as many people as possible.
California. He says California. He was a former governor here in California. Let's watch that again. That's great. If he says it like that, then Caitlyn certainly can do it.
People are dissatisfied with what's going on here in California, and I hope that as many people as possible are jumping into the race and going for it, because remember, when I was in the recall election, there were 150 candidates there, and it was a huge circus. So it was kind of fun.
I don't think Caitlyn will make it into a circus at all. I think Caitlyn's going to just bring a calm to the California electoral process.
To run for governor at that time.
Yeah.
And it will be fun this time too for everybody. The key thing about all of this is it doesn't matter if it's Caitlyn or if it's anyone else, to have a clear vision of where you want to go, what are the kind of changes you want to make, and why are you qualified to become governor. That's what you have to convince the people. All the other stuff is all nonsense because the president...
It's just simply nonsense. Just all those other things are what's important. Arnold knows he won.
The press will attack you no matter who you are. They attacked me, but then on the end, I won, so that was the main
You did
thing.
win, and convincingly. But I think one thing Caitlyn knows for sure is the changes that she wants to make, because she made some real big changes.
I don't appreciate that joke, Jimmy. Again, this guy, the cancel culture should be after him. Like that's, look at him, his smug little look. Caitlyn is a star in California, the reality TV show star. Caitlyn has to win, Jimmy.
Exactly. Well, hopefully she will have those kind of changes in mind also for the whole state to make a lot of changes and to straighten out all the mess that we're in right now. And I think that there will be, like I said.
What are these changes that you guys are laughing about? I don't understand what's going on here with this. I think that they are, I don't think they're giving Caitlyn enough credit.
She will not be the only candidate. There will be many other candidates. I predict right now there will be another 100 candidates.
100?
Before the election,
wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Why stop at 100? Why not 200? Why not every person who's a resident in California runs for governor, right? Like California, we need California to experience something like that, right? Because all the things that California's done for the rest of us.
That's 100 candidates. Has Caitlyn called you
I think so.
to ask it for advice or your blessing or an endorsement?
Well, I don't talk about that because there's just about everyone that is thinking about running has called me.
Yes.
I'm very good friends with Caitlyn. I have the utmost respect for her, but I'm also very good friends with Governor Newsom, and I'm.
Yeah, Governor Newsom sucks. Anybody would be better than Newsom. Like, I don't like where you're going with this, Arnold. I think if you're good friends with Caitlyn, you gotta take a stand here, buddy.
Politics go, it doesn't get much more California than this.
Exactly. This is California right here. When I look at Caitlyn, I say California governor, right? Right here. There's no more California than this right here.
And Republican.
Hello, my fellow Republicans. Yeah.
Exactly. Arnold won as a Republican. They need a Republican. They need this kind of Republican right here. Look, that looks like California. That, when I look at this, I say, California governor, here we come.
Announcing she wants to be governor of California, taking on incumbent Gavin Newsom.
It was easy to come out as trans. It was harder to come out as a Republican.
Jenner has the name recognition but no experience in elective office, conjuring comparisons to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who ousted Democrat Gray Davis in a recall and served for 8 years.
Thank you very much to all the people of California for giving me the great trust.
Exactly. If you can say California, you're going to win. I hope Caitlyn practices saying California. This has got to happen. Like, I don't know what's preventing this from happening, but it's got to happen.
Supported Donald Trump, only breaking with him after his ban on transgender troops. Newsom already hitting that connection hard, calling the campaign part of a ludicrous circus full of Trump supporters.
Who cares what Gavin Newsom says? He ran that state into the ground. Like, he did a worse job than Cuomo's, right? Two of the worst governorships in history during a so-called crisis. And the guys killed California and everyone's fleeing from the state. And so here, who cares what he thinks, right? The reason they're having a recall election is because he did such a disastrous job and he has that horrible mullet haircut. And, he said Caitlyn is a legitimate candidate. You can see they're running scared of Caitlyn. Caitlyn's taking over. Caitlyn's going to do it. Just let it happen, 2021. So I went to eat my lunch and I saw that Nancy was on with Andrea Mitchell, and Nancy's all masked up. Nancy always does a great job of coordinating her mask with her outfit. She's got multiple masks, and she has an outfit. She goes with the mask that, nice blue. I mean, the blue doesn't totally match here, but it's pretty close. Kudos for Nancy. Of course, she's wearing a mask where she doesn't have to because she's, social distance. And Fauci said you don't have to wear a mask anymore, Nancy, but she has all these coordinated masks, so why wouldn't she wear them? It's not like it makes it tougher to hear her, or does it?
We're already, of course, hearing Republican pushback to the president's new $2 trillion American Families Plan with initiatives like universal pre-K, and they're very popular. But what about the tax increases that are going to have to go along with that?
Well, the fact is that this bill is $1.8 trillion that the president is.
Listen to Nancy suck air while she talks about taxing people. Like you can hear her, you can see the movement here.
Putting forth. They didn't have any hesitation to spend $1.9 trillion to give 83% of the benefits to the top 1%. What the president is doing is rewarding work, meeting the needs of people, using some of that same money that they rewarded the rich with before. We don't have any resentment against anybody for their success.
You just want to tax the crap out of them, make sure they don't have any more of it, and they were not willing to invest because there's no compensation, right? People don't invest when there's no. I mean, that's how rich people are, right? They're not going to invest if there's no chance of return. And she's sucking air hard here. I mean, geez, Nancy.
But as we meet the needs of the American people, it's important for people to know that our budgets are a statement of our values. And the budget that President Biden is putting forth, the particulars of it, are a statement of our values.
So you value destroying the economy of the country. Nancy's sucking hard here. Well, then in the beginning, she said this.
And what it means to you to be sitting next to a fellow Californian and fellow woman, the first ever woman vice president, to have two women there in those honored positions.
It's pretty.
So remember, California's given us Nancy and Kamala, and so, you know, we should give them back Caitlyn, right? I mean, that would be fair exchange, right? They get Caitlyn for governor because they've given us Nancy and Kamala. Just, you know, I think one Caitlyn's worth one Nancy and one Kamala, right? I mean, that's, I think, a fair exchange.
Pretty exciting, and it's all wonderful to make history. It's about time.
You know, just stop with the fake mask stuff because you don't have to wear it, Nancy. Don't wear a mask you don't have to. I mean, what does that say, right? This is performance-oriented. And again, it doesn't really match as well as I thought. You look at it, it's a little bit darker blue here. So, you know, I mean, she doesn't have to wear the mask, and she's doing it just for show, and you can't understand her normally, right? It's hard to understand what she's saying. So, you know, thumbs down for Nancy and her whole performance here. So when I think about what's going on in the world in terms of being outraged or whatever, complaining, you know, whatever people do, I always look at how has this really affected me? For example, how is Biden being president affecting me? How is Trump affecting me? Because people freak out, right? People, you know, think about something happening like COVID, for example. Think about how many people are freaked out about COVID. So how has COVID affected most of us? Well, I had COVID. It sucked, right? And that, you know, affected me physically, but that is whatever it is. Whether it's a biological weapon or it is a, you know, organic creation, I had it and it sucked. And I think overall it helped me get in touch with my health and things, you know. So I think it was mostly a win for me, even though having it sucked. And so in terms of all the other things that have happened over the past 4 years, I don't know how much Trump policies actually affected me. You know, in the past couple of years, I was talking to my wife about that. 2021 was like a pretty good year for us. 2020, I mean, last year. We went to India and, you know, we got that trip in before COVID hit, so that was nice. My wife got to see the ashram and experience a gathering, you know, my kids and all that. So that was a plus, right? That was a good thing. And then the rest of the year wasn't so bad, right? Like I had a pretty good year on YouTube and, you know, we had a pretty good year as a family. The COVID thing probably being the worst thing. But I don't, you know, personally experience anything bad from it, right? In terms of some people have lost their jobs. Some people are starving to death because of closed economies, right? Some people have to wear masks 8 hours a day. Like I don't have to do that. I don't, you know. I've had to wear a mask very little because I'm already pretty much social distance all the time. Like my life hasn't changed that much in the past couple of years, even though there's been big changes that have happened. In terms of Biden and what's happening with politics and his policies and this agenda they're rolling out, we have to see how it's going to affect each person personally. And, you know, can we live with the effects? I mean, we're going to have to, right? like you're going to have to live with them, but how bad are the effects? Because people flip out and react. Like, think about how many people reacted to Trump being president, and how many people were really affected negatively by Trump's policies, by Trump as president. They didn't like the idea of Trump, right? People don't like the idea of Biden, but they're all handled to a certain extent. And this agenda that they're rolling out is coming one way or another, because I've showed you the economy we're so far in debt, they have to do something. I've talked about this over and over again. There has to be a global reset, because the economy, it's never been a good system. It's a lie. We're dependent on a lie. We're 100% dependent on a system that wasn't supposed to, it should have collapsed years ago. And so they're desperately trying to save it. But there is, it's coming to an end. It's God's will. That's, in terms of the heartfulness system, there needed to be changes because it's taking humanity in the wrong direction. It's taking people away from God. It's taking people away from their family. It's taking people away from their soul's purpose and our real reason for being here. And so when I have a misery in my life, like I have a problem, I have something that sucks, especially now, this is in the past 27 years, 26 years since I've been doing the heartfulness system, I always think about it in terms of, well, the beginning sucks, right? Whenever you have something bad happen to you, the beginning always sucks. It just does, because, it's bad, right? You think it's bad. It's a misery. It's a difficulty. It's something that you didn't want to happen. But then as it plays out, how does it affect you? Because in the heartfulness system, miseries are viewed as divine blessings because they bring you closer to God. They help remove things that are obstacles to your connection to God. Miseries are a good way to clean out undesirable spiritual grossness, some scars in your internal system. And so when you get the misery, it's bad, but how does it affect you later on? Like every misery I've had in the past 26 years has led to, in one way or another, my spiritual evolution. And so as this system collapses and things are, going south, you have to evaluate, how does it really affect you? Is it making you worse? Is it had a negative effect on you? Or is it in some way liberating you from something internally, cleaning out something on a spiritual level that's going to help you move farther along your spiritual journey? And so until something's over, there's a beginning to something, and then it eventually ends. And after it ends, you have to evaluate, did it, help me in some way? Even in terms of your own death, because people are flipped out about dying. Like, dying is probably everyone's major concern, because we've been basically told over and over again that dying's the worst possible thing, even though we're all inevitably waiting for it, right? Like, we all view death as a bad thing. And so dying is a bad ending to everybody's life, because death is inevitable, and it's the inevitable end of your life. And that's viewed as being bad. And so when you think about it that way, then, life is going to end badly for you, right? The end of your story is a bad one because you died, right? Or you're going to die. And so it's a faulty way to look at things. And until we return to the spiritual realm of existence and we have a, spiritual perspective of our life, we don't really understand like what was good and what was bad. And, because we are locked into our egotistical view of what's happening. But when you die, your egotistical view disappears. Your ego is associated with your body and life on planet Earth. And now your soul can look back and reflect on your life and see, maybe you had a wrong perspective about things. And things that you looked at as being bad are actually good for you. They were potential. They were things, if you had done them differently, if you had viewed them differently, if you had been grateful for them, it would have turned out differently. And so I say this over and over again, there are going to be some negative changes or things that are taking us in the wrong direction. Things are going to get worse before they get better on planet Earth. And for most people. That's just the direction we're headed. And, if there's a God, which I believe there is, and if there's a plan, which if you believe in God, there's a plan, right? Then that's part of a plan. And even though we don't like the plan, most people are going to resist the plan when it brings about changes to their materialistic lives that they don't want to have happen. And that's gonna, that's what we're in right now. But if we embrace these things, these changes, and we look at them as blessings in one way or another, and have a more hopeful perspective about them, and wait them out and see, like, all right, this is bad in the beginning, but what's going to happen at the end of this? And so that way you can go through life in a way where you're not flipping out all the time, right? Most people are flipping out all the time because of loss of control. People aren't able to control things and make things go in the direction they want them to, and therefore they flip out, because we have a society where everyone thinks you have more control over your existence than you actually do. But you can see what people have done in terms of their choices. People will usually choose the wrong thing. They'll choose the wrong partners in terms of being married. They'll choose the wrong careers. They'll choose the wrong everything in terms of their, everything that they get to choose. More often than not, they choose things that ultimately hurt them and hurt humanity and the planet as well. People have made a lot of bad choices. And so at some point, you got to be able to turn it over to God and your soul and say, all right, it's your turn. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.